afternoon. It's my pleasure to be the lead hitter here at the TED event focusing on global education. I can't see any of you because the lights are in my, oh, there you are, hi. My name is Brandon Wiley, and as Colin mentioned, I am the director of Asia Society's International Studies Schools Network. This is a network of schools around the United States that are committed to preparing students to be more active in the world, both locally and globally. And so in all of our schools, we're trying to promote this idea of students being globally competent and ready for college and career. So today, if you'll let me, I'd like to talk a little bit about my experience, not just working with our schools, but actually my own personal experience. Because you see, I didn't go to an ISSN school. I didn't have the advantage that many of the students sitting in the audience had of having teachers that were committed to prepare me for the world. But, unbeknownst to them, what they actually were doing was preparing me to be a global citizen that I am today. So today what I'd like to do is just kind of give you an overview of this idea of global competence. And hopefully these ideas will lead us throughout the course of the day today. You see, the idea of global competence is that we're preparing students to be able to interact, to collaborate, to compete in some cases in a global society. Increasingly, our economics of the world and everything that we're dealing with requires us to know about other people, how they live, and why they live the way that they do. So for us, the idea of global competence really relates to four things. It's a student's disposition and ability to do these four things, as Colin mentioned in his introduction. The first is that they're able to investigate the world, that we're posing real questions about real issues that we deal with as human beings, and that we're engaging students in trying to solve these problems. Instead of it being a teacher in front of the room just dictating to them, we want them to be active participants in trying to learn about why the world is the way that it is. And so by posing these interesting, provocative questions, we're able to motivate their learning. Next is this idea that we all bring perspectives to our learning. And so everything that we experience, from the way we're brought up by our family to the things that we learn in our school, all develop the perspectives that we bring to our learning. And so you and I can both have different perspectives and come to the same bit of information and interpret it a little bit differently. So we want to help students be able to develop and understand how their perspectives have come to be and how they're different than those different than them. So whether it's because they're from different cultural backgrounds, because linguistically they are different, geographically they come from different places, we have to help them understand that those differences are things that can be celebrated and also lead us to think differently about the information we're consuming. Now, researching, collecting information, trying to solve these problems, this is not enough. We want students to be able to communicate about what they've learned. And so today, with the advent of social media, just today, the fact that we're live streaming this, these are examples of ways in which students, not just adults, but students can take an active role in trying to change the world. And so what we're hoping is that by communicating what they've learned, they're able to make a difference. And that's the final component, is take action. Today, I think, is a perfect example of global competence in action. Today's event, in large part, was developed by students. Students who wanted to learn more about the world. They wanted to learn from each other and with each other, and so they put this event together. And so I'm just so proud to be a part of it. So the lessons that I want to share with you today, though, are not necessarily from my work working in the ISSN, although I do have a real pleasure, it's an honor actually, to travel to the schools around the United States that we work with to look at what it is they're doing to promote students' global competence. But I actually want to go back in time a little bit and share with you, if I might, some of my lessons that I've learned from my teachers. Today, make no mistake about it, my talk today is very much a tribute to all the teachers in the past, the present, and in the future who are shaping all the lives of the young students sitting in the audience today. So let's start with Brandon. This is Brandon in kindergarten. Now, I can't tell you how intimidating it is to know that the best looking I'm ever going to be in my life was then. But anyhow, so in kindergarten, I had, for most of us, this is where some of our early learning begins, is as kindergarten students. And so for me, I was lucky to have a family and to have a school that really promoted this idea of trying to explore the world, to investigate, to have this curiosity that exists in all of us come to the surface. And so they did this by creating learning experiences and asking important questions to guide that experience. Unfortunately, as we get older, my experience has been in a lot of our schools that natural curiosity goes away. And sometimes we're so focused on things like standardized testing and preparing students for things that in some cases don't really matter to them today. Instead, I'd like to offer the opposite. And so the first lesson I want us to be thinking about is, how can we help our students dare to dream and be the first? You see, when I was younger, anything was possible. And as an adult, I'd still like to think that anything is possible. but that's because I had teachers who fostered that belief in me. I also was the first. I was the first of two brothers. I have a younger brother, Mark, and so I was the first to ride a bike. I was the first to ride the bus, to go to college, and so because of that firstness, I had an opportunity to really make a name for myself and to try new things. Every one of us, regardless of where you're born in the order, we want you to try to innovate, to be the first to do something, to find a solution, to make the world better. And so for all of us, I hope that we can continue to have this belief that's fostered in a lot of our students at a very early age. Now let's fast forward to first grade, and I want to share with you that sometimes our dreams don't always come true. And I think this is an important thing for kids to realize when they're thinking about global competence. This is a story that I wrote when I was in first grade, and I'm very happy to say that my mom, hi Mom, kept this for me in a journal. And if you can't read it, I'll read it to you quickly. It says, the name of the story is The Way We Might Live in the Year 2000. Now, for me, when I was younger, the year 2000 was far off in the distance, and so we had all these ideas. But you see, this is an example. This is an example of a teacher posing a question that there was no right answer to, but that it allowed me to dream and to think about what could be. And so I wrote, in the year 2000, we might live in space or underground or live in the water. A lot of things will be different. We might even have cars that go on wires or a boat that can fly or maybe a spaceship that can hold 50 people. In the year 2000, maybe nothing will change. For Mom in 2000, for Mother's Day, this is appropriate since it's coming up, maybe you can get her a robot so she does not have to do everything. The robot can do it for her and help her when she's tired. And this is my favorite part because you see, this is where the dream really came in. In the year 2000, I might be a spaceship fixer. Now, I have to admit to you, I'm a few credits short of being a spaceship fixer today. But at the early age, I had teachers who were there to promote these ideas that anything was possible. So let's go forward now, if the PowerPoint works. There we are. To Brandon in first grade. Now, this was a kind of a devastating year for me because I had to start wearing glasses in first grade, and they're really cool, aren't they? Right? So one of the things that I learned in this grade is that Mama said there'd be days like this. You see, all of us, as we're getting older, are dealing with challenges. And so for me in first grade, this was the challenge, was trying to fit in and wear glasses, and it was awkward, and I didn't want to. But because it was the right thing to do, and because it was the necessary thing to do, I was able to work through it. To help students really develop this idea of global competence, we have to help them understand that perseverance is an important part of learning. And so for me, wearing the glasses and getting used to it was a necessary medicine. It's something I had to do. Now, as I'm looking in the audience, I'm seeing some of you are snickering and kind of pointing. And I can almost see the thought bubbles above your head. You're asking this question: where have we seen this shirt? Yeah? It's true. It's true. It is the same shirt. And so since now that I know that we're live streaming this, I'm going to look right into the camera and say, Mom, what were you thinking? But I think she will say that it was my favorite shirt, so that's why. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. Brandon in sixth grade. Cool dude, right? New hairdo, glasses, different glasses. Sixth grade was really kind of a seminal year for me because this was the year that I had Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson was one of those tough teachers, but he was one of those teachers that realized that he had to push his students to do more and to be more. And one of the projects we did in sixth grade was to go out into the community to learn about the history of our community, to learn about what could be different, what could be better. And as teams, we had to decide how we could improve the community. And I was one of the students who was selected to actually go before our Board of Education to make a presentation to talk about what we had learned and how the curriculum could be updated to teach us more about our local community. In that one learning experience, Mr. Anderson made sure that we were investigating the world, that we were understanding and recognizing different people's perspectives from the community, that we were communicating to an audience that was authentic and purposeful, but also hopefully that we would take action. That's the first time I ever remember standing in front of a group of people and speaking like I am today. I couldn't be on this stage today if it weren't for teachers like Mr. Anderson, who in some cases forced me to come up and do something like this. And so I hope for all the adults in the audience, as you're looking at these lessons, and certainly the students are looking at these lessons, I think they apply to all of us. For the students, I want you to think about in what ways do these lessons help you in your day-to-day life? But as adults, we need to think about how we're creating the learning opportunities to teach these same types of lessons. So for Mr. Anderson, one very valuable lesson that I learned was that being smart or good at something is okay. Too often in schools, students are afraid to be smart. They're afraid to achieve. It's not necessarily the coolest thing. Or quite the opposite. Sometimes they don't feel as if they're smart or they're not successful. We have to create an environment in our schools that allow for all students to realize that not only is being smart okay, it's important, and we want you to achieve at the highest level you can in whatever it is that you're good at. Maybe it's not academics. But I also realized as I look back that I had role models all around me. So today on this stage, you're going to see all kinds of speakers that are going to inspire you and give you ideas about, life and how to do things differently. But when we leave this stage and we leave this campus, I want you to remember, please, the students in the audience, you're surrounded by role models every day. Your teachers, your parents, community members, even some of your classmates. And so figuring out what it is you have to learn from these people and how you're going to use that in your life is a really important thing to figure out. Listen, watch, and learn. And I have to be honest, in some cases you're going to learn what not to do. Now, let's move to middle school. New hairdo, right? I'm trying it. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm not sure I've got it out just yet. But middle school is a tough time. I don't know, I'm looking around the room and some of you are maybe nodding your heads. Middle school is not necessarily a great time in life. You're trying to figure out who you are. And so the lesson that I want to share here is that you're never alone unless you want to be. And what I mean by this is in today's day and age, we're surrounded by technology and opportunities. And yet we see story after story in the media of students who are feeling left out. And in some cases even making some really poor decisions and hurting themselves because they feel ostracized or bullied. The reality is as schools, we need to do more. We need to do more to connect our kids, not just to the campus here locally, but around the world. We're live streaming to New York City and who knows wherever else. We need to create opportunities for students to become more connected in a smart and in a safe way, but we also have to push them to understand that there are opportunities for them to stay connected. You see, because globally competent students, while they're investigating the world, while they're understanding and recognizing different perspectives, they're also connecting. Through this understanding, they're finding their own way. Now, this next lesson is a painful one for me. So I guess you can laugh, but if you must. Okay, now look at that grease ball. Okay, the next lesson is number 6. The acne will go away. I'm glad you're finding humor in my pain. Now, I have to be honest in saying this has absolutely nothing to do with global competence. I just wanted to reassure you, the acne will go away. Okay? So in high school, I had a great opportunity to do an internship out in the community. And I was able to work in a school, and this is where I really fell in love with the idea of educating people. And so lesson number 7 is spend time thinking about who you are and who you want to be. You see, schools that put students in purposeful learning experiences out in the community, putting together events like this, helps them understand who they are and who they want to be. None of us, I don't think, really enjoy in high school, those of us who are done with it and those of you who are in it now, sitting there and listening to the teacher be sort of the know everything, just stand in front and lecture, sort of the Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. Instead, we want you doing things like this. We want you to be able to create. We want you to be able to go out into the community and innovate and to connect. And so for me, teachers gave me that opportunity, and that's where I was able to find my passion. I did not find my passion in a textbook. I did not find my passion in standardized tests. I found it by living life and learning in the world. So the next lesson here, there we are, is when I went to college. And I had an opportunity after college to be able to teach internationally. And so sometimes the parents in the audience will be a little upset with me when I say this, but I do believe this. It's important for all of you to leave home. It's important for you to travel. It's important for you to see different places, to interact with people of different cultures and different ways of life, because it's through that you develop a sense of who you really are and what you value. Now, I will say, though, that leaving doesn't mean leaving. It means also coming back. And I've been very blessed. I've been all over the world. I've been to Australia. I've been to New Zealand. I've been to Russia. Here's a picture of me in Russia. Again, yet another hairdo. This is at a children's hospital in Russia where they were doing reconstructive surgery on children. And so we were able to really learn about what it was that was going on there, what was the culture like, what were the services like. So I want you to remember that lesson number 9 is this, that even though I want you to leave home, I want you to do this, number 9. I want you to come back and make a difference. You see, this community needs you. This school and this community needs you to make a difference. If we're going to do anything to make our world better and our local community better, it requires you to learn more about the world and your place in it and to know how you can make that difference. And so my hope for all of you is that you leave, but that you also come back. And you come back with a determination to do something here. And lastly, the last lesson I just want to share with you is this idea of carrying on. Because you see, students who are globally competent understand that it's important to persevere. That as the world around us changes, knowing our place in the world, knowing how we connect with others, and knowing the difference we can make matters. But it also requires you to keep working. And so I'd like to finish today with one of my favorite poems. And I'm not going to recite the whole poem. I'm only going to give you a little taste of it. So this is your homework for today, students in the audience, is to go home and I want you to look up the poem Carry On by Robert Service. Okay? And whenever I'm having some trouble, and I'm going to help myself here a little bit, whenever I'm having a little bit of trouble, I want to make sure that I look at this poem because what it does is it talks about perseverance. It talks about what happens when things aren't going your way. So today what I've talked about, all these things, being able to investigate the world, learning what's around you and why things work the way they do, being able to understand different perspectives and why people think differently about different things, being able to communicate to a broad audience in ways that connects and makes sense to them, and taking action. These are all things you're going to hear about today. But I'd like to read you this last piece. It's called Carry On, and this is the last couple lines of the poem. Carry on, fight the good fight and true. Believe in your mission, greet life with a cheer. There's big work to do, and that's why you are here. Carry on, carry on. It's looking like hell, but you never can tell. Carry on, carry on. And at last, let the world be the better for you, so that when you die, you can say, carry on, my soul, carry on. Thank you.